Hello, so I'm going to take you through a few stretches that might be helpful if you have really tight hips. So possibly from doing running or possibly from doing lots of high impact exercise where you've got tightness around the hips and the lower backs. This is just a few ideas to help loosen up around that area. So the first one is going to be a child's pose. So you're going to take the toes together behind you, bring the knees slightly wider and move the hips right back towards your feet and start to lower the body down. Now you might want to use this as a resting pose and bring your forehead all the way to the floor and rest your forearms down. You might feel a stretch there into your inside thighs as well. So if that feels like too much, you can walk the knees in a little closer. If you prefer, you could just be further up, supporting on your elbows. But try moving around in these stretches to help find a release. Go gently, not trying to force a release, you're trying to find where it feels easier. So the next one we're going to come to is bringing one knee out to the front and one knee out to the side. Now, if you're quite tight through the hips, you might want to support yourself on top of a cushion. So let's show that option. So any cushion, the higher up you go, the easier it's going to be to get into that position. We want to be sat fairly upright to start with. Bring the knee out, right angles one in front and right angles one to the side. And again, from here, we're trying to find movement possibilities around the pelvis. So you might want to lower down the chest and lift up. You might feel that stretch into the back of the hip that's in front of you. And then another option from here is to lift up the back knee and try and push down with the front foot as you lift up. And it doesn't have to be big, it might only be really small movements, but just to try and, again, find where there's spaces in the body rather than forcing yourself into a stretched position. So we're going to take that round to the other side and do the same thing. So again, maybe lowering the chest, checking that you're nice and upright, lowering the chest in and lifting. And then coming into picking up the back knee, like so. And while we're sat here on the hips, we're going to bring feet out in front, take them wider than your hips and support on your hands. And then just going to rock the knees really gently side to side. Going to where it feels easy to move into. So perhaps you want to drop them down a little bit further, take that into a twist. Perhaps it feels really nice on one side and you want to stay and hold there, because if you find something that feels like a good stretch. Now the next one we're going to come into is a seated twist. You might want to stay up on your cushion. That can help put the pelvis in a good angle. We want the pelvis, imagining it like a bowl, we want it to be in a sort of neutral position. So not tipping too far forwards and not dropping back and rounding out the back. So nice even position for the pelvis so we can have a nice upright spine. From there you're going to straighten out the left leg and hook the right knee over the top of the left leg. Check that right hip stays pressed into the floor, and then you're going to draw the right shoulder backwards. So you're twisting through the spine. You might feel that stretch into the outside hip, into the thigh there. If you want to create a little pressure, pushing the knee into your hand like that, and then release. That's an option. And then releasing back, taking it through to the other side. Again, check everything's pushing down. Keep the hips into your cushion or into the floor, turning into the shoulders there. Lifting up tall through the back body. And then we're going to come all the way down onto your back. So rolling down and bringing one knee up into the chest, hugging it really, really close, and trying to push. If you feel that starts to lift you off the floor, try and push it back down as you hug the knee in tight and push that hip to the floor. And then we're going to keep the right side of the body anchored into the mat as we pull the knee across the body and just stretching that knee away from its hip. And then we're going to open it out to the other side, but keeping the opposite side of your body anchored into the floor so it's not lifting off. So stretching there. And it might feel good if you want to take some hip circles here, just moving the knee around. If you get any clicks, that's okay. Try and brace the belly tight to keep the body steady. And if you get clicks, maybe just make the movement really small. Take it around in a couple of directions. And then we're going to let that leg go and do the same thing on the other side. So pressing the hip down and pulling the knee in. So using your hands to pull the knee close. Breathing out really slowly to help the body relax. So every time you exhale, take it as a big sigh. Draw the knee in and over. Keep pushing the hip down towards the floor as you pull the knee away from it. And then opening it out. And then again, taking some circles around. Really easy. Okay, hugging both knees up into the chest. Rolling side to side there, so you release the lower back. And what you're trying to do is stretch the hips away. So like you're pushing your hips towards where your feet would be if your legs were flat on the floor. Relax the shoulders down a little bit. So the back's as long as it can be, the spine, as much of the spine as you can get down towards the floor as possible. And from there, either pushing yourself up or rocking and rolling back up into a seat. And letting the knees fall out wide and just taking the chest forward. Rounding out the lower back, so kind of similar to how we were on the floor. Hips pressing down into the floor. Let the knees fall wide if you want to rest the elbows gently there to help. And any movement that feels nice. Remember, a lot of this is figuring out what your body needs and knowing when it's okay to breathe in a position where you want to hold, where you want to ease back from. That's a very intuitive thing internally for you. So take your time to figure it out, and the more times you practice, the more you'll get to learn what that feelings, different sensations are, whether they're space being created or something's tight. So it's a learning process of your body. So I hope those stretches are helpful, and let me know how you get on if you need something different, and yeah, something to practice after a workout.